This is not your grave, but you are welcome in it.
Human Covenant War. First contact with the Covenant. 2525 CE. Planet Tribute. After a failed anti-insurrection operation on the human inner colony world of Tribute, leaving most of his unit KIA, UNSC Marine Staff Sergeant Avery Johnson is sent on leave to the greater Chicago Industrial Zone on Earth. Planet Earth. When going to visit his aunt in a retirement home, he is shocked to discover her dead, and as a result, he goes on a drinking spree. Sergeant Johnson eventually ends up being reassigned to the remote agricultural world of Harvest to get away from the front lines of the insurrection. Planet Harvest. Much to Sergeant Johnson's surprise, he finds his former squad mate, Staff Sergeant Byrne, assigned there as well. Under the supervision of Captain Ponder, Johnson, Byrne, and Hospital Corpsman Healy are tasked with raising a militia to protect Harvest from the growing threat of the insurrection. On Harvest, the colony produces most of humanity's food, watched by two artificial intelligences, Sif and Mac. Unidentified Sol System. A Covenant missionary ship, Minor Transgression, discovers a malfunctioning unmanned human cargo ship. The coordinates registered to the cargo ship's navigation computer lead the aliens to Harvest. An Ungoy deacon, named Dadab, is alarmed when the ship's luminary seems to register thousands of foreign artifacts and an oracle. The opportunistic Kigyar plan to take some artifacts for themselves before reporting the discovery to the hierarchs and begin surreptitiously raiding human freighters. Above Planet's Harvest. The first meeting between a human and a member of the Covenant takes place aboard the manned human freighter This End Up. While Henry Gibson, captain of the freighter, attempts to kill Dadab, he is killed by the Huragok Lighter Than Some. Unfortunately for the Kigyar, the Office of Naval Intelligence has recently organized a strike team to counteract what they believe to be a growing insurrectionist group. Under the command of Lieutenant Commander Julian Alexigny, Johnson and Byrne await for the expected insurgents aboard freighter Bulk Discount. They successfully deceive the crew of Minor Transgression into boarding the freighter, where they are immediately attacked by Johnson and Byrne. Johnson receives a cracked skull from their meeting, and Byrne is stabbed in the leg with an energy cutlass, though the humans manage to defeat the Kigyar boarders. This raid marks the second meeting of the humans and Covenant forces, and makes the humans aware of a brand new threat they may be facing. The Kigyar's vessel's self-destruct sequence is activated by its dying ship mistress, and Johnson and Byrne barely manage to escape the resulting explosion. Among the missionary ship's crew, only Dadab and his Huragok friend, Lighter Than Some, flee the destruction of their ship aboard an escape pod. Ponder, Johnson, Byrne, and Healy then work to prepare the Harvest militia for a possible alien invasion. High Charity, Covenant Capital City. Sanchayum, Minister of Fortitude, is confronted by the Vice Minister of Tranquility on High Charity. The Vice Minister reveals the discovery of the large amount of relics found on Harvest. After some convincing, Fortitude agrees to initiate a coup of the current hierarchs with Tranquility, using the Vice Minister's discovery as a pivotal event to cause the change for their benefit. To keep the Singhili from using this discovery as a way to upset the balance of power, they utilize a Juralhani-controlled ship, Rapid Conversion, captained by Chieftain Macabus and crewed by his clan of Jiralhanae, including the chieftain's nephew, a youthful Tartarus. Above Planet Harvest. Rapid Conversion arrives in the system and discovers the escape pod containing Dadab and Lighter Than Some. Macabus is delighted to have a Huragok aboard his cruiser, as the Singhili only permit Jiralhanae ships to employ Yanmei workers in maintenance roles. Macabus tasks Lighter Than Some with making repairs to the ship's weaponry, which was disabled by the Singhili. Meanwhile, the Yanmei are relegated to menial roles or combat positions, much to their embarrassment. The chieftain uses the deacon as a way to motivate the cruiser's own lackluster complement of Ungoi. Planet Harvest. Upon arriving at the planet, the crew of Rapid Conversion soon discovers Harvest's vast store of foreign relics and a message of peace left by Sif and Mac in the form of a crude pictogram displaying a desire for peace. Their luminary also indicates that there is an oracle on the planet. The Jiralhanae land 2 spirit dropships at the specified date to meet with the human peace delegates, though the Jiralhanae only desire to capture the entire planet and its relics. The peace talks fall apart after an errant Ungoi attacks and kills Harvest militiaman Osmo, and the one-sided battle of Harvest begins. High Charity. The ambitious Senshayum begin their mutiny of sorts by invoking the High Prophet of Restraint in a conspiracy that will lead to his removal if revealed. However, in order to ascend to the throne of Hierarch, the two require a blessing from the long-silent oracle present on the Foreigner Dreadnought within High Charity. They visit an old, supposedly senile philologist for his blessings and advice. When they input the discovery of Harvest in the Luminary's data, the oracle, which is in fact a fragment of the Forerunner AI Mendicant Bias, suddenly awakens from eons of dormancy and reveals that the Covenant has been misinterpreting their findings. With the Kigyur Thawar artifacts, we're actually registering the presence of the humans on Harvest, referred to as Reclaimers, and calls them his makers. The Minister of Fortitude concludes that these Reclaimers are living foreigners and were left behind when the rest transcended. Wishing to make amends for his bias, Mendicant begins to power up the Dreadnought to take the humans to the Ark, an act which will destroy the Covenant Holy City. However, the Ancilla is stopped when the Dreadnought is short-circuited by Legolo worms exploring the vessel's pathways. Realizing that the discovery of living foreigners would tear the Covenant apart, the Senshayum swear to secrecy, and the philologist is inducted into their conspiracy against the Hierarchs. Planet Harvest. The humans begin to resist the assault by the Jiralhanae ship on select towns on the planet by shuttling as many civilians as possible to Utgard, Harvest's capital. Macabus is informed by the Minister of Fortitude that his ship's luminary is broken and he is to destroy the planet, but the devout chieftain decides to continue his search for relics while attacking the humans. The Covenant attacks the town of Gladsheim, where Johnson and Byrne attempt to evacuate the survivors of the town. During the engagement, the two Marines manage to evade a swarm of Yanmei and ram Macabus with their warthog, injuring the chieftain. One of the Covenant spirits, occupied by Tartarus and Ratul, is destroyed. While Tartarus escapes, he is furious at the loss of his friend and blames Macabus for refusing to just glass the planet from orbit. AI Mac, normally responsible for the agricultural Jotuns, hands over his vast network to his previously concealed doppelganger, Loki, a shipboard AI now implemented as a defense mechanism. The militia manages to ferry most of the surviving population to Utgard, and then began their plan to send the colonists to safety aboard freighters at the Tiara space station, connected to the 7 space elevators present on Harvest. The Jiralhanae, having stationed their ongoing forces in the Tiara, unwittingly allowed the Huragok Lighter Than Some to come into contact with Loki and the nearly destroyed Sith AI. The Huragok, disgusted by the killing and wishing to end it, shows the AI how to duplicate the Forerunner symbol for Oracle. Ponder, who was mortally wounded by Maccabeus during the failed peace talks, takes an AI processor disguised as the Oracle away from the space elevators. Rapid Conversion moves towards his position and deploys Tartarus and Vorenus to retrieve the Oracle. However, once the Covenant ship is in range of the colony's mass driver, the cruiser is hit by 2 rounds and is crippled. While Tartarus kills Ponder, Vorenus leads the several other Jiralhanae to disable the mass driver. Johnson leads a small force up the space elevator to clear the Ungoi on board Tiara, while Byrne defends the Harvest reactor complex from Vorenus and 2 other Jiralhanae. Vorenus kills several militiamen and manages to heavily wound Byrne, but the Jiralhanae is killed by the surviving members of Byrne's militia platoon. Tartarus, still angered by his uncle's refusal to simply glass the planet, challenges the still injured Maccabeus for the title of clan chieftain and ultimately kills him. Tartarus then takes control of his pack and initiates a counterattack against the militia. During the assault, a jealous group of Yanmei kills Lighter Than Some. A devastated Dab slaughters them with his plasma pistol, but inadvertently severely damages Sif's arrays in the process. Wounded and wanted to complete Lighter Than Some's last wish by ending the conflict, Dab uses his last pistol shot to disable Tartarus' energy shielding. Tartarus, who is about to kill Johnson, retreats from the conflict, but not before obliterating Dab with the Fist of Rucht. Wallace Jenkins, a member of the militia who lost his family during the Gladsheim's destruction, attempts to finish off the chieftain, but Tartarus escapes. Just after the last human survivors escape the Tiara, Loki fires the mass driver at the Tiara, destroying the station along with Sif and bringing the elevators down on the planet while the refugees flee. Aboard their freighters, Johnson and Byrne offer all militia personnel a place within the Marine Corps, while Johnson and Alcigny begin a relationship. In the following months, the surviving Jiralhanae and Yamei begin to repair Rapid Conversion and return to Glass Harvest. High Charity, Covenant Capital City. The scheming Senchayum gain the High Council's reluctant approval and usurp the hierarchs and become the high prophets of truth, regret, and mercy. They finally declare a new age for the Covenant and decree that humanity must be annihilated for interfering with Forerunner artifacts, to prevent any members of the Covenant from ever discovering their true place as the Forerunner's heirs. The newly established High Prophets recommission the Luminary as a means to locate human planets, thus beginning the Human Covenant War. UNSC controlled space. In the following months, as Harvest is glassed, AI Mac desperately attempts to contact AI Sif while burying the Tiara strands within the Jotuns as his repentancy sets in. Spartan 2 Augmentation, 8 March 2525, Planet Reach. Spartan 2 Training Facility. Spartan 2 candidate Soren 066 is summoned to Dr. Halsey's office. She asks him if he recalls their first meeting. Soren recalls instantly, recalling the conversation and the choice he made that led him there to become a Spartan. Dr. Halsey then reveals that she had called him to give him another choice, explaining that she and the other staff intended to augment the trainees' bodies soon to make them into the perfect soldiers. She explained that they would intend to push the boundaries of human capability, but it would bring upon great effects and risks among the candidates, including degenerative bone conditions, muscle atrophy and deformation, Parkinson's disease, Fletcher syndrome, Ehlers-Danlos syndromes, and death. After a brief pause, she once again offers Soren the choice to continue. A special decision, as the other candidates would simply be ordered to report for the procedures. Soren asks why he was the only one given the freedom, to which Halsey claimed it to be an experiment, and the Spartans required a control group, but would not say why Soren was specifically the one to be given the choice. Soren remained silent for a long moment, but eventually confirmed he wanted to continue, even knowing the risks. He didn't want to be left behind. Project Aster. 9 March 2525. Planet Reach. Medical Facility Endurance. Epsilon Eridani System. The 75 Spartan 2 candidates are taken to the facility above Reach in order to undergo the series of invasive procedures designed to physically, chemically, and genetically augment their bodies. Their heads are shaved, intravenous lines inserted to deliver a sedative, and incision vectors lasered onto their bodies. The various augmentations, under the purview of Project Aster, were carried out the following day. With the assistance of surgeons, biotechnicians, and automated robotic machinery, the surgical procedures the recruits endured included occipital capillary reversals, the carbide ceramic ossification of their bones, the insertion of catalytic platinum thyroid implants, injections to enhance muscle strength and endurance, and the fibrification of the neural dendrites to make them superconductive. As the procedures came to a close, Soren 066 woke violently as a wash of pain came over, like glass being worked into his veins. Restrained to the bed, Soren tore himself free and attempted to run. A doctor attempted to give Soren a hypodermic injection, but he broke the man's wrist, stabbed another doctor in the neck with a needle, and punched a third as he fled, sending him flying into a wall. During his escape, he was stopped by Spartan 2 training instructor, Chief Petty Officer Franklin Mendez, and a squad of UNSC Marines armed with tranquilizer darts. Following the procedures, Dr. Halsey reflects on the results with her personal AI, Deja. Of the 75 Spartan 2 candidates, 34 are successful. 26 candidates die from the procedure. 3 candidates are permanently crippled from the procedure. 11 candidates experienced failed augmentations, but thankfully were able to be rehabilitated and re-augmented later. And 1 candidate failed augmentations and was left without any major bodily harm, but was unable to be re-augmented later. Among the dead, Saren 019 was brought back to life after a few minutes, and over time was pieced back together. Despite her body heavily rejecting the final implant procedure, she was able to retain the initial implants, and after enduring physical therapy to a full recovery, she was allowed to continue her career within ONI administration. UNSC Atlas, 30 March. En route to Lambda Serpentis system. The remaining Spartan 2 candidates, led by John 117, hold a funeral ceremony to the fallen candidates. After the ceremony is completed, John 117 goes to the gym to burn off steam, feeling he had failed his fellow candidates that had been crippled or killed by the augmentations. While at the gym, a group of ODSTs walk in and provoke John, and start a physical altercation. By the end of the fight, stopped by Chief Mendez, 2 of the ODSTs are dead, leaving the remaining 2 seriously injured. Spartan 2 candidate escape attempts. April 2525. Planet Reach. A few weeks after the augmentations, Daisy 023, Joseph 122, Ralph 104, Oscar 129, and 1 unidentified Spartan rebelled against the trainers, holding them at gunpoint in front of Dr. Halsey, ordering her to let them leave. Halsey granted them freedom, and they fled Reach, hoping to return home to their families. Planet Sargasso. When Daisy arrived on the planet, the UNSC were already actively searching for her. Evading patrols and searchlights, she found her home. There, she found a girl nearly identical to herself, wheelchair-bound in her home's garden. Daisy was then approached by a Hornet VTOL with Dr. Halsey aboard. Halsey explained that all Spartans had to be replaced when abducted, in order to avoid suspicion. Daisy, shocked, drew her pistol and approached the clone. The child, confused and bewildered, stared at Daisy as the gun was held to her face. After an eternity of thought, Daisy lowered her weapon and began to leave. Quickly, her clone called after her and offered a small teddy bear on a chain. Without knowing why, only knowing that she should, Daisy accepted the gift and returned to UNSC custody and was transported back to Reach. Daisy's clone would die soon after the interaction. Planet Reach. The fate of the remaining escaped candidates are revealed later in a debrief. Joseph 122 was captured without incident. Ralph 104 found his clone, killed him, and is then captured. Oscar 129 found his clone and committed suicide with his service pistol. The last escaped Spartan found their clone, killed them, and committed suicide with their service pistol. Pariah. Awakening in the brig, chained by titanium wristlets, Soren 066 is visited by Dr. Halsey. Halsey informs him that he's been in a comatose for 3 months, and his body didn't react as planned to the muscular enhancement injections and the thyroid implant, which had caused his muscles to grow in a way that were unpredictable, but was saved by the carbide ceramic ossification process. In the end, one leg was normal overall, but the other was severely gnarled and roughly 6 inches shorter. His arms were incredibly muscular, painfully so, giving him the greatest upper body strength of any Spartan. The fingers on one hand were twisted and bowed, functioning as more of a pincer or claw. To counteract the incredible pain, Soren was given massive amounts of painkillers. Soren didn't like how much the medications clouded his mind, so over time he removed the need for it. Soren 066 was disappointed when Chief Mendez told him that he wasn't going to be certified for active service, being told that if he were to join a team of Spartans, it would put any mission at risk, as they would have a constant reminder of those that couldn't make it, and would see him as their responsibility to keep him alive. Additionally, there was no body armor that would fit his specific physique, and his deformed hand would make it difficult to fire a weapon. Against his wishes, Soren 066 was assigned to a desk job, similar to Fahad 084. Capture of Colonel Robert Watts. 12 September 2525. Eridanus Secundus, United Rebel Front Base. Spartan Blue Team, comprised of John 117, Samuel 034, Linda 058, Kelly 087, and Fred 104, are assigned to the first Spartan 2 mission. Assigned to infiltrate the United Rebel Front Base located in Asteroid Field and capture Colonel Robert Watts. Colonel Watts had been using the hidden base as the primary staging ground for insurrection activities in the area. 14 September. Aboard the Rebel Stronghold, the Spartan team equipped their stealth suits and silenced SMGs. They make their way to Colonel Watts' office and initiate their attack. During the raid, John 117 takes a bullet for Sam 034, With John injured, the remaining Spartans pressed on and successfully captured their target. The capture of Colonel Watts is considered a significant victory for the UNSC and the unified Earth government in the insurrection. Spartan 2 Briefing of Harvest. 2nd November 2525. Planet Reach. The Spartans are briefed of the events of Contact Harvest and learn about the Covenant. Battle of Chi-Keti. 27 November 2525. Chi-Keti System. While transporting the Spartan 2s to the Damascus testing facility on Chi-Keti 4 to receive their Mjolnir Mark IV powered assault armor, the UNSC Commonwealth was intercepted by the Covenant vessel Unrelenting. After a brief encounter, the Commonwealth was able to temporarily disable the Unrelenting and transport the Spartan 2's planet side to retrieve their armor. John 117 was the first to put on the armor, always the one willing to put his life on the line for his team. During armor testing, the UNSC Commonwealth was re-engaged by the Unrelenting, and the Spartan 2s were forced to transit back to the frigate to assist in the battle. En route, John 117, Kelly 087, and Samuel 034 went EVA along the 3 nuclear warheads and infiltrated the Unrelenting, placing the warheads inside the Covenant vessel. During the ensuing firefight, Samuel 034's Mjolnir armor was breached, leaving him incapable of returning to the Commonwealth. Samuel 034 remained behind to ensure the warheads detonated successfully. Samuel 034 was the first Spartan 2 to be killed in action. Battle of Alpha Corvi 2. 3 December 2525. Planet Alpha Corvi 2. A substantial Covenant force emerged from slip space near Alpha Corvi and proceeded to move toward the system's second planet. UNSC ships in orbit mounted a defense, but a number of Covenant dropships managed to land troops on the surface. After just 3 hours from arriving in the system, Alpha Corvi's 2's largest city, Jamshid, was under assault by the main contingent of ground-based hostiles. In the city, Marines were holding their own, but enemy reinforcements were anticipated. It was at this point that the 4 young Spartan 2 warriors picked to compromise Blue Team, John 117, Kelly 087, Fred 104, and Linda 054 were briefed on the attack. They were then en route to the system aboard UNSC Persian Gate. Lieutenant Commander Yao informed the Spartans that they would be dropping on the outskirts of Jamshid and engaging the Covenant from the rear. Their objective was to lessen the pressure on the main UNSC garrison within the city so that a proper counterattack could be prepared. It was also imperative that they operate independently of ground command and refrain from having any contact with anyone from the Marine Corps whatsoever. The UNSC Persian Gate arrived at the besieged planet around 30 minutes following the Spartans' briefing and was met with urgent messages from officers on the ground. A separate group had detached itself from the main Covenant force and had landed troops near the island mining settlement, Black Reef. There was no UNSC presence there, but the town was being defended by local insurrectionist militias affiliated with the United Rebel Front. In light of this new information, Blue Team was redirected to Black Reef in order to neutralize the invaders there and discover why it was being targeted. During their insertion via a Pelican, Nora, an AI on the Persian Gate, introduced the Spartans to various scouting and reconnaissance enhancements their armor was outfitted with for this mission, including prototype active camouflage technology. Blue Team was set down in a ground vehicle on the beach and immediately began taking fire from rebels encamped a short distance away. Kelly 087 and Fred 104 recommended taking them out quickly so they could move on to deal with the Covenant, but John 117 opted for a different option. He activated his camouflage and crept up on a small band, only revealing himself when he could reach out and touch their apparent leader. John 117 identified his team as being responsible for capturing Colonel Robert Watts and argued there was no way they could hope to beat them. He told them what had happened to Harvest, and through appealing to their immediate common enemy, was able to get their leader, Whitaker, to agree to work together for the time being. At John's insistence, he ordered his squad to circle around and rendezvous with the rest of their forces at the edge of the lagoon. From there, they would hit the Covenant from one side and drive them toward where Blue Team lay in wait. In order to keep an eye on their uneasy allies, John 117 sent along a surveillance drone to keep a visual on them. The insurrectionists took up position as planned and opened fire, catching the small contingent of aliens by surprise and sending them running. Blue Team, too, unloaded on them with battle rifles, with the distance between them closed. During the fighting, John's drone was destroyed by a shot from a Kig-Yar plasma pistol. The Singhali and Kig-Yar that remained escaped to the mouth of a tunnel that led deep into the mines beneath the reef's bedrock. John 117 was determined to pursue them, not least of which because he was curious about a strange device a Singhali took in with him. Whitaker informed him that though the mine was an expansive mess of tunnels, it only had the one entry and exit, meaning the enemy was trapped within it. The sudden new arrival of Covenant reinforcements in orbit prompted Yao to have Nora contact Blue Team. Yao let them know that a host of new dropships were inbound. Most of them were heading for Jamshid, but 3 spirits would reach Black Reef in just 3 minutes. The naval battle over the planet looked to now be going very badly for the UNSC. Without any hesitation, Whitaker volunteered to hold the mine entrance with his people, so the Spartans could pursue the others that had vanished within. Some militia started to question their leader's willingness to help the titanium-clad warriors, but Whitaker had only to remind them what John had said about Harvest. Soon, the spirits were unloading Singhali on the island, who were met with a hail of bullets from URF rebels. At some point after this, a plan enacted by the rebels triggered a cave-in that trapped Blue Team and its prey in the mine. Despite this, the alliance with the URF held at both groups continued to fight the Covenant together, now with the goal of also keeping a foreign artifact buried deep underground out of its hands. While the UNSC evacuation of its personnel from the planet commenced, the URF continued to fight off fresh waves of Covenant reinforcements on Black Reef. Outnumbered, Whitaker ordered several soldiers to relocate to Bondi Beach to acquire a tactical necessity. While the URF retreated from its position at the mining facility above, Blue Team fought through the flooding corridors of the mineshaft, separated from Linda 058. Linda, engaged by an estimated 100 hostiles, equipped her jetpack to dodge enemy fire while continuing to kill infantry as she sought a path back to her team. Her teammates were confronted by a Singhali zealot armed with an energy sword, who, after several near misses, was finally killed once his shields had been brought down by the Spartans' concentrated fire. Utilizing a surveillance drone, Kelly 087 gained visual on Linda on the other side of a rock wall 3 meters thick. Combining a pack of MX-8 plastic explosives and a plasma grenade, John blasted a path through to Linda, and the 4 Spartans resumed their attack on the remaining Covenant. During the firefight, the team's drone was destroyed by enemy fire, costing them the intel gathered on the Covenant's primary target. Fred 104's armor had also been critically damaged in the battle. After wiping out the remaining infantry, the Spartans found the cavern to be rapidly filling with water, and held their position until it was deep enough to swim upwards through the surface. Despite Fred's armor having been pierced with his suit rapidly filling with water, he and his fellow Spartans were able to reach open waters and swim back to the surface. With the majority of their forces in the process of being evacuated, Commander Yao deployed Pelican dropship Tango 807 to rescue the Spartans. The Pelican arrived at Bondi Beach to find it swarming with Covenant. Yao ordered the Pelican to abort its landing until the Spartan status could be verified. Minutes later, Blue Team resurfaced and linked up with Whitaker, who had commandeered an APC and proceeded to mow down the Covenant forces waiting to intercept the Spartans. Together, these two sides launched an assault on the extraction zone, allowing Tango 807 to land. Whitaker and his men followed for evac, but were denied entry by the Pelican's lieutenant, who had been ordered by Yao not to accept any non-UNSC personnel. Whitaker argued against this, but was flatly denied and told that he would have to find his own means off the planet, and that no human ship, rebel or otherwise, would be shot down should they succeed. Tango 807 then departed into space, and the lieutenant was interrogated by John, who was furious at the abandonment of their allies on the ground. Whitaker radioed for evac, but was far out of range for any help that could have come, and was forced to face the Covenant alone. The rebels were wiped out, and Whitaker himself was slain by an elite, signaling the fall of Black Reef and the rebel garrison there. Spartan Blue Team then returned to UNSC Persian Gate for a debriefing on their discovery in the cave system. The UNSC Persian Gate then fled into slipspace as the battle above Alpha Corvi 2 continued to rage. In the hours that followed, all remaining human resistance on the surface was routed, and the few UNSC ships that remained in orbit continued to attack the Covenant fleet even as their fighter screen had been completely decimated. All remaining human vessels were either destroyed or forced to retreat, and Alpha Corvi 2 was declared lost shortly thereafter. Aftermath. The colony was lost and presumably glassed by the Covenant after the UNSC's defeat. The humans sustained huge losses on both fronts despite having inflicted enormous casualties against the Covenant on the planet's surface. Losses that at a time were merely considered collateral damage and acceptable in the face of a larger threat posed by the alien hegemony. The battle came at a cost of most, if not all, the rebel forces who had aligned themselves with the Spartans in their mission to stop the Covenant, a decision that greatly angered John 117, who had honored his alliance with the rebels. Alpha Corvi 2 was just one of countless worlds in the outer colonies that would fall to the Covenant onslaught, and as their defeats mounted, the UNSC would be forced to reconsider the acceptability of freely expending its own people, both military and civilian, in the face of a worsening crisis. Spartan Blue Team succeeded in their mission to prevent the foreign artifact from falling into enemy hands, but with the intelligence they gathered destroyed in the battle within the mine, its purpose and power remain unclear to the UNSC. Battle of Bliss, 13 February 2526. Planet Bliss. This battle was a Covenant attack on the outer colony world. On this day, 45 Covenant ships entered the system and wiped out the entire human presence, glassing the planet and killing millions. The 3 UNSC ships in system were destroyed within 1 minute of engaging the Covenant fleet. Second Battle of Harvest, March 2526. Planet Harvest. The Second Battle of Harvest, simply known as the Battle of Harvest, was humanity's first attempt to recover the planet from the Covenant, who wiped out the existing colony and killed tens of thousands of civilians a year earlier. The UNSC sent Battle Group X-Ray, a fleet of 40 warships led by the UNSC Everest and Vice Admiral Preston Cole, to retake the colony from the Covenant. Harvest was defended by a single Covenant superdestroyer, which managed to destroy 13 UNSC warships before it was ultimately destroyed. The battle was the first chapter in the Harvest campaign, a 5-year campaign to remove all Covenant from the planet and retake the colony world.
Go! Our new friends aren't going to wait for us to argue.
I know Spartans don't cry, but for once, I was glad for the helmet.